right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's start the conversation right now. We're calling it the state of the nation. We're talking matters, politics, and everything in between there. The biggest thorn in the flesh now is the issue around corruption in the House, and that's a conversation we're having with my guest in studio. Honorable Mark Nyamita is here, Member of Parliament for Uriri. Thank you for making time. Honorable Samson Cherargei is here, Senator for Nandi. Asante sana for making time. Dr. Kuro Kot is here, Party Leader, Third Way Alliance. Thank you very much for making time. We're still waiting for Honorable Cleophas Malala, Deputy Party Leader, DCP. He'll be joining us online in just a short while. Gentlemen, let's start off with the Daily Nation front page there. Secrets of MP's bribery scandal. MPs and analysts are reading a pattern in President Ruto's latest bribery attacks on Parliament, investigations into government scandals, enactment of anti-graft laws, compensation for victims of state attacks, and a looming hostile probe by the USA. Cherargei, is it a house of graft? Are members of Parliament corrupt?
Good morning, Trevor, and it's good to have me today. It's been some time. It's been a minute. First of all, let me pick it from my experience. In the last session, it was my distinguished honor to serve as the chairperson of Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights. In this session, I was elected as the vice chairperson of Senate County Public Accounts Committee. In all instances, as the chairperson and as the vice, I have never received or seen any inducement within Parliament. The problem, the people who are reporting all these issues are people who do not sit in Parliament. They use rumors and information that is distorted to communicate that there is corruption in Parliament. I'm not saying Parliament is immune or cannot be scrutinized over allegations of corruption, but doing blanket condemnation the way media are doing is very unfortunate. And in any case, Parliament, when you look at the powers, Parliamentary Powers and Privileges Act, Cap 6 laws of Kenya, Section 15 establishes, I think establishes the Powers and Privileges Committee. This is one of the committees that is only chaired by the speakers of the both houses. Section 18 provides that the Powers and Privileges Committee has the power to invite and summon witnesses to provide evidence. I wish by the time that the media was reporting most of these issues, it should have provided evidence, because in any organization, there are ways of enforcing ethical conduct. And that is what should have come out, because even if you had the communication from the Speaker of the Senate yesterday during special sitting on the swearing in of the new senator and on the Kericho impeachment proceedings, appointing whether to go committee or a special committee way or to the plenary, we were very clear that even in the Senate, who is the head of the institution, the Speaker was on record, and it is unanswered because it's an official communication. He has indicated that he has not received any allegations, be any bribery allegations, corruption allegations, misconduct by members of the Senate, and therefore we leave it at that, because he's the head.
Two issues you're raising there. So are you now saying that the president is peddling rumors?
No, I want to thank the president, because when we sat in Parliamentary Group Committee for bringing this issue up, if you add in my remarks, I have said no, Parliament is not immune or cannot be scrutinized based on allegations, just like judiciary, just like the executive.
It's a direct question. Are MPs corrupt?
They are not. Unless you become specific, I will only take a position if you can give me X, Y, Z MP is corrupt.
Is lying.
No, I'm not, and that is why I thank the president, because he said he's exposed to raw intelligence. So now, that is why I'm quoting Section 18. Now the speakers, and if you remember in the Public Accounts Committee, I put a challenge to the speakers that now that the president has brought these issues of allegations against corruption of some members of Parliament, he didn't name, because I was in that parliamentary group meeting, it was live. I'm challenging the speakers of both houses, because they chair Powers and Privileges Committee, to use Section 18, and now that the president has brought this conversation on the table, to request for this information on specific individuals, members of Parliament.
Do you believe there's some truth in what the president said?
To some extent, yes. So to some extent, no. But you know, if today I come and say executive is corrupt, that's blanket condemnation. And that is why I'm saying now that the president was said in that forum, and he said he might direct the arrest of some members of parliament, it is now, that is why now, you know, Trevor, it is a procedure. Now that the speakers who are the chairs of parliamentary committee on powers and privileges can go further and request for that information.
You're also accusing the media of reporting on this, and you're talking about summoning witnesses. Should the president be summoned?
Of course, under the Constitution, and maybe Ekuro Court will tell us, but under Article 125 of the Constitution, Parliament has power to invite. It's not even, you know, there is difference between invite and summoning. You only summon somebody if they have declined to appear. Section 18 of the powers and parliamentary powers and privileges says any witness can be invited to appear before any committee or the House as per the standing orders of Article 123 of the Constitution. So and that is why I'm throwing now to the speakers of the House, can you go further and request for this information?
So you want...
It can either be provided in person, or any other means, because the Parliament allows you to provide information that can be used for further investigation. Any matter, by the way, it's not even about the issues of corruption, but on anything, even Parliament can invite a Kuroko to appear before, even the media.
All right.
So the fact that, in conclusion, the fact that I am not saying members of parliament are but we cannot fight this corruption by accusing one arm of government. We need to fight this corruption in executive, judiciary, in parliament, and in private sector.
Okay. Mark, let's start with basics. Are MPs corrupt?
Trevor, that's a difficult question to ask, but, because I have no measure of how to tell whether MPs are corrupt or not. I can only speak on my behalf because, you know, even myself, I sit with members of parliament, but we only meet either in the plenary or in the committees. As to whether they are corrupt outside or inside the parliament, I wouldn't know. So if you ask, are MPs corrupt, it's very difficult for me to answer that question directly. But matter of corruption is something that is a vice that is actually living with all of us. If I were to ask the four of us sitting on this panel, including your good self, have you ever paid a bribe even to the police to let you go? Have you ever prayed for some small service when you're seeking? I'm sure you might have. I'm sure even Okuro Court might have done something like that. If that, I have. I mean, if you ask me, I've been stopped by a cop here, or I've been to secure something very quickly. I have maybe once in a while. If that qualifies for corruption,
but that is dangerous self-incrimination.
I am just trying to say, and I mean, it's important that we have. It's important that we have a honest conversation around corruption.
That's true.
But coming, you know, we attended a PG with my good friend, and the president and the former prime minister were very bold on this matter of corruption. For me, what I read is that I think the president, from where he sits, has now brought this very serious discussion that people have always had behind scenes. Oh, you know, we are going to stop corruptions and things like that. And I am hoping that it is not going to stop at the statement. We want the president now, in the next step, to come and say, Cherargei, on a particular day, this is because he is a consumer of raw information, and as he said, Cherargei on a particular day did A, B, C, and D. Honorable Nyamita on a particular day did A, B, C, and D. Then that matter is actually brought to the floor, because the institution of parliament in this country is a very serious institution. For it to be a den of corruption, or even to be perceived to be a den of corruption, is a very serious issue, not only for the members of parliament. By the way, this thing is not about members of parliament.
Yes.
It is about the country. Because then what sort of parliament do you have? That's a very serious institution. Because every other important thing is actually legislated through that very house. So what are we saying about all the legislations that we have? It is a house that Kenyans actually look up to when when they're challenged with many issues. So to say that that institution is actually corrupt is a very, very serious issue. And if there are particular members, because just like in any other society, like, you know, in media, Trevor, you'd agree with me that there's a brown envelope story of the media, whereby, you know, I give a brown envelope and give me a headline, I give you something and give me something. But can we use that to say that royal media is corrupt? Can we use that to say that the media in this country is corrupt? I don't think so.
But that's where the problem is, Mark, because most people are saying that now that the spotlight is on the members of parliament, instead of you guys addressing the issues that are facing you, you're deflecting it, saying we are not the only ones. It's also corruption in the media, there's corruption in the executive, there's people who
No.
Why don't you address it as a...
If you followed the discussions, we have said that the people who are accusing parliament to be corrupt, the burden of proof is actually with them. Please bring the information so that we can be able to process it. But while at it, we're also saying, as you seek to bring evidence that parliament has a few issues, or a few members of parliament are having challenges. And I've seen even the media coming to say members of parliament, related to CDF and things like that. And we are reading a couple of things. For example, I sit in the National Assembly. There's been a big fight against the the NGCDF. That, they want to kill that fund. Our collective opinion is that NGCDF, which is not managed by members of parliament, I might just, because the committee sits in my constituency, I might tell them, please prioritize, but we do not manage the fund. We do not sign, we do not sit in any decision making. We can only lobby within it and say, okay, please, I have received a report that there is a school here that does not have classes. Please prioritize them in the next whatever. But our collective view is, could this be a targeted fight? Because this is a fund that has actually been fought. Unfortunately, it is the only fund that is working. Then when we had the former Prime Minister also come and say that now the counties need to be oversighted by MCS, it is an attack on Parliament in itself. Because the law provides that the senators are the ones to oversight governors. We all know that MCAs have no capacity, have no skill to actually oversight the governors at the whatever. Because you remember last Parliament, Trevor, there was an attempt to set certain thresholds for people getting into elective office. And one of them was the academic, the education level. And we tried to say that, can we have even at least graduates get into parliament? And my two legal friends here moved to court and said, the percentage of people who are graduates within the country is a certain number, so outrightly that discriminates. But what does that do in terms of capacity, for example, at the county assembly? You have someone who cannot speak English in the county assembly. You have, and I dare say, you have someone in the National Assembly and in the Senate who cannot speak English. The budget of the nation is actually being deliberated on the floor of the House. This gentleman cannot understand even what is actually going on in the National Assembly. And you expect that that very MCA is going to oversight a governor who is a graduate, who is more skilled. That's actually allowing room for corruption at that particular level. So just to answer your question is that corruption is living with us in the society. There could be one or a few elements, maybe even some of my colleagues who are involved in a scandal here or there, or maybe who might have sought for certain inducements from people who are appearing or the people that they are oversighting. But that cannot be used as a blanket thing to condemn the institution of parliament. All we are waiting for is if there is evidence against any particular member, let it be presented in the floor to the relevant authorities, beginning with the committee in parliament, that the Powers and Privileges Committee, to investigate such members. And my speaker on the floor of the House did admit that he has received maybe 1 or 2 complaints against the conduct of certain members. We will also be challenging the speaker, please. If we have 1 or 2 members that you've received complaints against, it is up to you to call them out so that the integrity of parliament is protected.
Dr. Ekuru, is the integrity of parliament compromised after the presidential statement?
Absolutely compromised. And I think our 2 elected members of parliament here cannot try to paint a glossy picture of parliamentarians. As we say in law, that for every general rule, there is always an exception. And to that extent, I want to agree with the 2 members of parliament here, that yes, maybe it's not everybody in parliament who is corrupt, but generally speaking, parliament is corrupt. Let me explain. we already have on record a confession from a member of parliament in last year during the 2024 finance bill, who confessed that actually members of parliament were actually bribed to pass that law. He said it openly.
But he withdrew an apology.
Well, I mean, Cherargei, wait.
He said it even if he withdrew.
Even if he withdrew, but he said it. Yeah, maybe it's the pressure from you, colleagues, that forced him actually to withdraw. Number two, Senator Fatuma Dulo from Isiolo called Senate Sokohuru. Okay? Number three, President William Ruto himself repeated the same words of Fatuma Dulo, said that Parliament is Sokohuru. And he said, as a consumer of raw intelligence, and we have no reason to doubt the president, because, you know, the NIS reports to him, the DCI reports to him, the investigation authorities report to him. So there is, and what I think Cherargei is not telling the viewers is that in the law of evidence, there's what we call circumstantial evidence. Okay? And those with circumstantial evidence, yeah, it is clear that Parliament is actually corrupt, especially in the use of NGCDF. We all know, they will not admit, that they control NGCDF. They employ relatives. They pay them, I think, upwards of something about 300,000. Maybe they return back about 200,000 to the member of parliament. So it's not fair to say that parliament is...
I'll give you a chance to respond. You're seated.
Mark, you will respond.
Really?
Let me tell you, Mark, we also have intelligence
with
how
it.
you guess.
Or you are a receiver of raw intelligence.
I'm so Kenyans. So the truth for the matter is, Parliament is a very corrupt house.
Okay.
And it's actually an extension of the executive. But having said that, we also now must challenge the president. Yeah? For example, in the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua, we all know that, it's common knowledge out there that senators actually received money. And where did that money come from? You know, the president himself cannot now play that saint thing that, accusing members of parliament. But he himself is actually the epitome of corruption. In fact, it's generally known that President William Ruto is the most corrupt person in the Republic of Kenya, in many aspects. For example, can he also account for us this money that he is dishing out almost daily in churches? Now we know that, I'm proud with our team, our ambassadors, that they are doing very well, doing us pride. But where is the money coming from? So the president must also account. The same way he's asking members of parliament, for accountability, can the president also tell us where is he getting all this money that he's dishing out every day? So when he accuses parliament of being corrupt, what about him?
Okay. Let me bring hold on, let me bring Cleophas Malala on this. Cleophas Malala, thank you for joining us here. Do you believe that the parliament is a house of corruption?
In the recent past, I've known William Ruto as a pathological liar. But recently, I want to say that when he made that statement that parliament is corrupt, for the first time he said the truth. Because, and especially this parliament, we have seen in the the businesses transacted before parliament previously, the executive interfering with the legislative work. You may want to call it various number of names, say corruption, say lobbying fee, say processing fee, say legislative lubrication fee, whatever fee you want to call. But the bottom line is, Parliament is not independent and Parliament is corrupt. The two incidences my brother has alluded to. One, the impeachment of the former deputy president. Money was flowing in the corridors of Parliament. Senator Cherargei knows that each senator was being given 10 million shillings, and that is in public domain. Remember, during the passing of the 2024 finance bill, Honorable Koimburi admitted that members were being paid money to pass the bill. I've just been hearing and following the proceedings yesterday in the National Assembly. Members of the National Assembly were saying, they were trying to lament to William Ruto that we passed the SHA for you, we passed. So that simply means they have relegated their mandate, or rather their position as representatives of the people. They are not representing the people, they are representing William Ruto. But be it as it may be, I would like just to ask Kenyans to microscopically look at why is the president, or why was the president agitated on one particular bill called the Anti-Money Laundering Bill. Why was he agitated? From where I sit, and with my background or my history with being a member of parliament, every sector comes in to lobby when there is a matter of interest. For example, when we had the T bill in the Senate, we had the multinationals coming to lobby honorable members to ensure that certain amendments are adopted and certain clauses are deleted. When we had the betting bill, we had the betting companies coming to Parliament to lobby us. I was with Senator Cherargei when we were being lobbied, and lobbying is a parliamentary practice that is allowed globally. Even in other jurisdictions, lobbying is allowed. But now, why is William Ruto only complaining about the anti-money laundering bill? Because he's a person of interest. We need to be told what interest did the president have in the anti-money laundering bill.
Okay.
Because he seems to know who gave the bribe, who was meant to receive the bribe, and he even know that the money was not delivered. And therefore, his problem is not the giving of the bribe. The problem of William Ruto is the money was not delivered. And therefore, he is not genuine. He is hypocritically approaching this matter. And he has no moral authority to comment to matters of corruption.
Malala, does lobbying involve giving money to the legislators?
Depending with the morality of a member of parliament, some would lobby using just logic and being explained to, conceptualizing the entire idea of the bill. But others would ask for money. That's now where corruption comes in. But many a times, Trevor, money exchanges hands. I remember during the one man, 1 shilling debate when I was in the Senate, people were lobbying from both sides. The governors were lobbying, and also government was lobbying. And money was exchanging hands. And therefore, it is good to tell Kenyans. And I was passively listening to my brother, Senator Cherargei, and I really pitied with him, because he's struggling to explain himself, because he knows whatever is presenting now on TV, deep down his heart, that is not the true position in Parliament. I can attest, I have been in Parliament. NIS is always in the corridors of Parliament to give out money. And this calls for accountability from the giver. Who gives this money? Now, the problem is here, when William Ruto got into power, he has brought in this habit of lobbying parliamentarians in every aspect. When they want to go for to impeach regarding, they are lobbied. When they want to pass the finance bill, they are lobbied. When they want to pass the SHA bill, they are lobbied. Now, the guy has found this process unsustainable. That is why he wants to threaten them and say, come on, you guys, you must be accountable, and you guys, we are going to form a multi-agency team. What is a multi-agency team? This is duplication and overreaching of mandates.
Okay.
We know our constitution is very clear on who is supposed to be adjudicating corruption cases. That is the EACC. So what is the multi-agency team doing in adjudicating corruption cases?
All right. Gentlemen, I have to take a quick break. Let me take a quick commercial break. I'll be back with. But I know there's a lot of reaction here from Cherargei all the way to Ekuru. Let's take a quick break and keep your views coming at Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya. Use the hashtag Citizen Daybreak. We're coming back in just a short while.